Hi, everybody. Hope you're all doing great. Thank you so much for joining us for the second week of the Iranian painting. This time I'll be doing a voiceover, so I won't be painting live as we go. Okay, I'll be doing a voiceover, and in some parts of the painting, I won't be talking. The parts I'm not talking, that's just because I'm repeating the same technique over and over and over. So I won't be talking on those areas. But the parts that I'm talking, I'll just be explaining the techniques I'm using and what the way I'm approaching the painting. Okay. Um, this time we will be working on the sombrero, the vest, um, and the shirt. All right. And just a little bit of the bow tie. Okay, so let's jump into it. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you at the end of the video. Thank you. Have fun. Grab a drink, grab a coffee, a cup of coffee or tea or a smoothie. Sit down, relax, enjoy yourself. Thank you so much. I'll see you at the end of the video. All right, so I'm just gonna dive right in. In this series, I'll be working on the shirt, the vest, and the sombrero, or the hat, as some people might call it. Over here I'm adding a little bit light, like I'm making it a little bit too white, but I'll go back and fix that because that was the mistake I made before. I went in and I made it too white, and then I had to go back and work on it and fix that because the white was taken away from the rest of the painting. It was looking way too bright, so I couldn't see the values in the other parts of the painting. So I used the really small brush for this one because I wanted to be able to get in there and get all my details in as much as I could. Okay, still going, and I'm just working my way through it. I had to speed up the video just a little bit because this process takes time. It takes a little bit longer, so I had to speed up the video just a little bit so that you guys can see the changes because it took a while to do. Yeah, right now I'm just making sure all my values are lined up properly because for the first layer or the first stage that I did, I noticed that I had to make some of the darker areas a little bit darker. So now I'm going on top of the darker areas and I'm making it just a little lighter so it's not too dark. So that's what I'm doing here right now. And I'm just working on it as I'm going. And this takes a while, so I'm just enjoying the process, working through everything, looking at my reference photo. You cannot see the reference photo very well, but I'm zooming in, looking at it, seeing as much as I can so I can get in there and get my details right. I'll say if you're working on a piece like this, or if this is the style of painting you want to do, the most important thing you can do, I'll say, get your reference photo. Make sure your reference photo is very clear and you can see everything when you zoom in, because if you're not seeing everything, you won't be able to paint it the way you might want to paint it. So the mistakes I made before was getting reference photos that were not very clear, and I spent a lot more time working on those reference photos because it was just guessing. Now I was just guessing and making things up in my head, and it took a lot longer, and the painting did not look like what I wanted it to be. So now I'm on the sleeves and I'm just blocking in the layer. I'm putting in layers, and it's all about layering. So I'm just adding more layers to this sleeve little by little. And if I see somewhere that needs a little bit more lighter areas, I'll just block in that area. And usually if I'm working with a specific color, I just stick to that color and work to that with that color wherever I have that color on the painting. If it's white, I'll work on all the white areas so that it's easier for me when I blend my paint. Sometimes I might jump from colors, but usually I'll just stick to the colors that I'm working on. So if I'm working with red, I'll try to touch everything that has red in that painting, or black, I'll touch everything that has black in the painting, so that I'm not cleaning the brush too many times. Or sometimes you can just keep like 3 or 4 brushes on the go, so you don't have to replace your brush or clean your brush too often. Then it slows down the process a little bit. So yeah, I'm just working through the painting right now, looking at the values and using the same technique I used in the demonstration I did in the first video, and just blending, trying to blend everything. Right now the blending is not too intense because I'm trying to block in colors or block in layers. So I'm just blocking in layers of the white. So wherever I see it, I'll just add it in there and try to fill it up little by little as I go. And this part takes time because there's so many different areas in this painting, or in this piece. On the side, the button, the entire sleeve, the wrinkles in the shirt. So I'm trying to get that and get all the layers, and I'm taking my time. I try not to rush. I think over here I made a little bit of a mistake when I was doing the drawing or putting the first layers. So I'm just redefining that area at the bottom there with the white under the elbow. I'm just redefining that area. Now I'm back. This is the part I really like. I started adding a little bit of the reflection from the red onto the shirt. I skipped it. If you can, I don't know if you saw it, but I added a little bit of the red onto the shirt to show the reflection, and that's what I'm seeing in the picture. So I just did that. Now I'm on the top here, on her shoulder and her arm. Yeah, I'm just filling it up. It's kind of like playing puzzle. Once you have all your shapes and everything in place, the next part is just filling in the blank. And it's as simple as that. Just fill in the blanks, take your time. And every now and then take a step back, look at the piece, see if you like what you see. Just check for your for your proportions, see if everything is right, and then you go back to it. You can take a little break after a while, after a few hours. Take a break, because it takes a toll on the body after a few hours. Like sometimes I'll paint for many hours, like 15 hours. Take an hour break and I go back at it. Yeah, so if you can't paint for such a long time, take time to relax, have a drink, remember to eat, because if you love what you do, sometimes you forget to eat, and that's what happens. Like I'll keep working and I'll forget to eat, and after painting I realized how hungry I have been, because it was so interesting just being stuck in the moment, being lost in the moment. So this is my therapy. This is what I use to help understand a lot of things going on. So when I'm painting, I'm in my own head, just thinking a lot. Okay, so here I'm doing the same thing. I'm adding some gray, dark gray in some areas, and then later on I'm just redefining the wrinkles in that spot, because first I work from general and now I'm going to a little bit more specific. So the first part was general, so I didn't have to do a little bit, I didn't have to do too much detailing. But now I'm going into the detailing area, into the detailing part of it, so I have to be a little bit more specific. So I'm adding the lights and I'm adding more grays in areas and just filling in the spots that needs it. This hand took me a little bit longer because it has a lot of wrinkles in there, and it's not just lines that I'm painting shapes. I'm looking at shapes and shades. So if I see a shade from dark to light and what that shade is supposed to look like, I'll do that. So right now I just blended that area to make it look smoother. So it's the same technique I'm using from the painting. You can't really see it much because I sped up this process just a little bit, because this took a while. This took a while. I had to take my time with this because it took a few hours to work on it. Let the paint dry, come back again, work on it again, let it dry. So yeah, still working on making it more specific. And now it's starting to look like what I want it to look like, and I'm really happy with this. And now I start to add the reflections on the clothes. So now it's getting more specific because the reflection means so much, and it makes the painting look more real when you start adding the different colors in there. All right, now we're back on the other hand. So sometimes I'll work on something and then I'll allow one side to dry, and then I'll go back and work on another part as the other side is drying, and then I'll come back to it. So that's what happened here. Just working it through, redefining some areas, adding more light in some areas. Yeah, and sometimes I use different type of the small brushes. I'll use the flat small brush, the flat small brush, or the one with the round edge. Well, this one is the flat one. To get all my edges, my sharp edges for this, I use the flat, and I'm just working it, redefining, and keep filling in, almost as if I'm playing puzzle here, just filling in the shapes and adding onto it as I go on. Yeah, like over here, when you see those sharp edges in the sleeve, in the arm there, I had to work with the sharp edge to create that nice gradient going from the dark to the light, so it looks real. So it's not just dark gray and then light. So I had to make it dark gray, light gray, and then gradually take it to light as I see it in the reference photo. Like reference photo, you can't really see much because of the lighting on the screen, but I'm able to see it from my angle. Yeah, just keep filling it in, keep adding those strokes, and keep working it. And this is the part that a lot of people don't like to do, because this is the part that is the patience part of it. It takes a lot of patience. It's a little bit more time, but if you work through it and you play some music, you get yourself a drink, and you just free your mind and enjoy your process as you're working through it, you won't even feel the the amount of time you're spending doing it, it'll be very enjoyable. You'll start to love it again. And that's what happened to me, because before I used to love trying to finish the work as fast as possible, but it's all about the process. All right, so take time with the process. So right now I'm gonna start on the bow tie. Just putting my first layer on the bow tie, making sure my lines are right, and then looking at the reference photo, I'm trying to get as much information as I can. Oh, I think I sped that one up, and I just fast forward straight to the, yeah, I don't know why I did that, but what I did was I just put the first layer on there, and since I was just repeating the same technique, I just sped it up. And now I have to go back on my bow tie and redo it with some lighting in some areas and some shadows in some areas. And here I sped it up a little bit faster because it's just the same thing. I'm just adding another layer of white on the designs. Yeah, this one didn't take a lot of technique. It's just looking at what I see and copying. This didn't take too much technique. It's just pretty much sharpening the lines and making sure everything looks right. Yeah. So now I'm just adding another layer, or another thin layer of paint over here to make it look smoother, to cover up the first few layers I did. So I'm now working on the vest. I'm adding some grays in there. I'm just looking at my reference photo, and I'm copying what I see on my reference photo, and the reference photo is telling me that it's gray in that area, so I'm just adding gray in there and blending it as I go. Yeah, and there are some sharp areas I had to go back on and blend again, but I'm still looking at my reference photo and just pretty much copying what I see. Yeah, there's some light coming through here. I really like what I see here. I really like how the gray look with the lighting coming through. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So I just keep working it, adding lights in areas I need it. If I'm working with light gray, wherever I see the light gray is needed, I just add it there, and I started blending it in because this was the next layer. So I just kept blending it in and working it. Yeah. And over here you see I'm just lightly touching the paint. I'm allowing the brush to do the work for me instead of trying to like paint for the brush. So the brush will actually paint for me. So I'm just lightly touching it and allowing the brush strokes to do the work instead of me trying to force, you know, the paint and try to push the brush into the paint. That's a different technique that some artists use to, you know, to create a different feel. But for this type of work I'm doing, I'm just lightly touching it for this layer. Like it looks like I'm just lightly brushing it, barely touching much to get what I need. Yeah. And I'm just going over and over and over, just trying to get it right until I'm satisfied with what I have. Yeah. So now I'm just adding some more darks in areas and just layering. The more I go deeper into the detailing, the more I see and the more I want to do. So I just layer. I'll say if you start doing more detailing, you get lost in your detailing sometimes. So try to take a step back, take a look at your work, and then go back at it, or else you'll get lost and you keep working and you might forget to look at the overall picture. So every now and then step back, look at it, and then go back at it. I'm just sharpening some edges and cleaning up my edges, making it a little bit nicer so that it can help the scarf or the rebozo pop a little bit more. Yeah, still going back on it. I had to let it dry a little bit before I go back on it and touch it up again. But yeah, just lightly touching areas, allowing the brush to work for me. Yeah. Just adding layers and layers and layers until I get what I want. Yeah, it's looking good. I like this. Hi everyone, thank you so much. You made it through the painting. Thank you for watching. The next painting we'll be working on the bow tie and the rebozo. The rebozo is the red scarf she has on draped over her arms. All right, that's my focal point, and that's where I'll be putting a lot of the work, and that's where most of my work went into, just making the rebozo look really good and as clear as possible, because that was my focal point. All right, in the story I'm telling in this painting. So thank you so much. I hope you liked it. Hope you enjoyed. Keep practicing your techniques and it will pay off in the long run. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Take care. See you guys soon, or see you next week. Thank you. Bye.